Hello, everyone, and welcome to our GOUT workshop. My name is Sherilyn Powson. I am the Outreach Coordinator and staff member here at the center. I hope everyone had a good holiday, and I'm sure you're like me, it's like, glad it's over. But it was a wonderful holiday season for sure. So is there anyone here that would like to share with us why they felt led to come to our GOUT workshop? Stina?
Well, I actually have a client that may have gout, be dealing with gout. And since BioTouch can't hurt at all, it's because I don't want to do like massage.
And you're a massage therapist, right?
Yes.
And
So-
then I have a son-in-law who's had gout, gets it all the time. So he's only in his 40s too.
Wow. So you do BioTouch, right?
Well, I'm going to make sure. They were supposed to be here tonight. But...
All right. So we have a speaker tonight, one of our own, Eileen Webster. She is a pharmacist and an intern here at the center. And she's going to share with us her experiences and knowledge of gout when she was a pharmacist in Colorado. Eileen?
Thank you. Alrighty, yeah, again, my name's Eileen Webster, and I'm a pharmacist from Colorado. I moved here to the Tucson area about a year ago for health reasons, and in this year I have felt so much better and enjoying not working as a pharmacist down here, so I just might not transfer my license after all. But back in Colorado, I owned and operated an independent pharmacy for almost 20 years in an extremely rural area. It was way up in the mountains at about 10,000 feet in elevation. Our winters were long and harsh, and we were stuck for quite a bit of the winter without access to a lot of things, including medical care. So being that the pharmacy was right in the middle of county, we became the hub for medical care there. So, and you could imagine gout, especially around the holidays, was a very common ailment up there. So we'll start off, what is gout? Gout is a rheumatic disease that results from an excess body burden of uric acid. This is also known as hyperuricemia. It can cause recurrent episodes of acute joint pain and inflammation from the deposition of the uric acid crystals, also called tophi, in the synovial fluid and the lining of the joints. Now, the incidence of gout, it's the most common rheumatic disease of adulthood in the United States, with more than 8 million cases and affecting over 4% of the adult population, with a ratio of males to females of 1. But as women age, that gap closes, and as we age, our risk of getting gout increases too. So, the first the first gout attack, also known as a flare, for men usually occurs between the ages of 40 and 60, like your son, and for women, it's usually after the age of 60, and it's usually involving just a single joint. Most commonly is the big toe, but that's not the only one. It can actually happen in any joint. It's just really, it is most common to happen in the lower joints of the extremities. So yeah, the toes, foot bones, arches, knees, fingers, your hands, elbows. It can even, if chronically high levels, it can build up in your kidneys, causing kidney stones and blockages, all sorts of terrible, terrible stuff. So now, while again, the big toe is the most common one affected, 90% of all people affected with gout will fight with that big toe at some point or another. So that's why that's always the big joke about the toe. Yep. Also with chronic high levels of uric acid, it can start depositing out into the skin with like crusty nodules. It can deposit in the ears, vocal cords, even on your spine. But they tend not to worry about it unless it becomes a problem with joint movement and mobility. That's when the doctors really get involved. Okay, so now, what is the gout attack? Well, a gout attack typically with no warning. Most folks, well, some folks will say it begins with a mild stiffness or burning or tingling sensation in the joint, which is then followed in about an hour or two with the acute, intense pain. And then other folks have no warning. They're just suddenly woken up in the middle of the night with the acute, intense pain. They describe it as being like hit by a baseball bat in the foot, or someone has broken a bone somehow, or jabbed a shard of glass into that joint, or it may feel like the skin is severely burned and you can't stand the bed sheets or your socks or anything touching it. The pain is just excruciating. And again, it happens without warning. And again, the odd one is it's usually these attacks occur in the late night, early morning hours. The reason behind that, they think, is because of dehydration during the night, that causes your uric acid levels to go up, and also your body temperature comes down, which helps the crystals precipitate out faster. That, and then I think also your body's inflammation process is going crazy during the night. That's when all those inflammatory problems really wreak havoc, and like asthma and everything. And so once that pain starts, oh my Lord, the joint becomes really, really red, hot, and swollen, and just so tender. And the pain will continue to increase for about 36 hours. You hit your peak of pain, and then it will slowly taper off over the next week or two. Oh. So after you've had a few of these attacks, you will learn your own little signs, be it, the little tingle or goodness gracious, who knows what, but you will learn your body's own signs that this is about to happen so that you can attack it on your own before it attacks you. So now, what is the role of uric acid in all of this? I keep talking about uric acid and hyperuricemia. Okay, uric acid is a byproduct of the breakdown of purine in the body. Purines are an important component of amino acids, so proteins in your diet, and also they're an important part of your RNA and DNA in your cells. So just normal cell catabolism, as your body's breaking down and creating new cells, you're freeing up all these purines. And so now what happens is in the liver, I'm going to hold up my little diagram here if anyone can see this. In the liver, okay, I'm going to back up. Purines coming into the body, be it through your diet or your endogenous purines. Okay. In the liver, there's an enzyme known as xanthine oxidase. And xanthine oxidase will metabolize the purines into uric acid. Okay? And then uric acid will travel to the kidneys, where the kidneys will flush it out in the urine. Okay? So what can happen then is when those uric acid levels get wonky, and that's the big gout trigger, is a sudden change in these uric acid levels. So you could be a normal, healthy individual who's never had problems with hyperuricemia, but if something happens to you to cause just a sudden change, it can trigger an episode of gout for you. And so I apologize, I lost my train of thought there. Excuse me 1 second. Okay. Other things that will cause an increase in your uric acid levels are going to be infections, dehydration, of course, certain medications like thiazide diuretics. What they do in the kidneys, as they're trying to flush out extra fluid to lower your blood pressure, they're actually holding back the uric acid, retaining it in your body so you're not excreting it. And then, excuse me again, then there's other agents like chemotherapy agents that are breaking down, killing cells. That's going to release, again, then more purines in your body, causing that spike of the uric acid. And then there's other medications that they use to treat chronic gout that if you suddenly stop them or just suddenly start them on a full dose, those severe changes in levels of uric acid will again trigger that gout attack. And then I'm going to say the trigger that we all probably know the most about is going to be injuries. Stubbing that toe, banging that elbow. If you're prone to gout, that's going to be your worst trigger. So then, how do we treat a gout attack? Well, the main goal is to treat the gout attack as soon as possible, preferably within those first 24 hours, and to treat it as gently as possible. Because if we're too aggressive, like I was saying, and we tweak those blood levels, we're going to make you feel worse. So the first step for a mild attack, just pain and swelling, is going to be your anti-inflammatories or NSAIDs like naproxen or ibuprofen, or by prescription, the best one is indomethacin. This breaks up the inflammation at the site and thus, reducing the pain. Then, for more severe pain and inflammation, if the nonsteroidals are not working, they'll use colchicine. Colchicine not only has a little bit stronger anti-inflammatory property right there where the attack is happening, but it also helps to break up the crystals and get them moving on their way. So if you're not careful with the dose of that medicine, not only are you going to have horrendous side effects of nausea and vomiting and diarrhea, but you're also going to trigger another attack. Crazy. So then, I apologize, lost my train of thought there again. So now, that's going to be for the treatment of a acute attack. Now, if you cannot tolerate NSAIDs or colchicine, that's when the doctor will bring out the steroids. We want to reserve steroids because, again, of the heavy side effects. But if you can't take the other two medications, that's what they'll use. Then, moving on to home treatments for acute gout flare-ups. Well, if you can handle anything touching the joint, a cold compress or ice to help with the inflammation and pain is good. Epsom salt soaks for the inflammation and pain, but you're going to want to do that with warm water, not hot water, because we don't want to cause any more inflammation, bringing any more blood into that area and any more swelling and increasing the pain that way. There's also, natural anti-inflammatories like ginger and celery. There are so many natural anti-inflammatories. We won't get into all of that, but there's those. There's also antioxidants. A lot of your antioxidants will have those anti-inflammatory properties too to help with the pain. Did I mention ginger? Ginger's my favorite that way. And most of all, drinking water. Lots of water. Not only do we want to flush your poor kidneys out, but we want to reduce the volume of uric acid in the blood by increasing the amount of water that's in there. And a lot of folks will also drink alkalinizing agents like lemon juice or vinegar. Heck, I even knew a fella who would mix up sodium bicarbonate and drink that to alkalinize himself to help excrete more of the uric acid. And then eating apples. Apples is a good one too to help neutralize some of the uric acid in you. But those home treatments, the ones that are going to be your most helpful for an acute attack, are going to be the ones to help relieve the pain quickly. And the others are going to be more your dietary ones for long-term treatment. Now, chronic gout. How do you treat chronic gout? Well, let me bring my little diagram back in here. Now, for treating chronic gout, well, let me go back one step here. I apologize. Talking again about the purines coming into your body. They're metabolized into uric acid by xanthine oxidase. That uric acid is then, like I said, excreted out through the kidneys into the urine. Okay. Now, if there's too much, that overburden, like we were describing, that again is where it's going to start rising and depositing in the tissues and causing the gouty arthritis. So again, that's where we're going to want to hit it with the anti-inflammatories for the acute flare-ups. For chronic gout, we're going to want to we're going to want to attack it at the level of the liver by blocking this enzyme so the body will lower the production of uric acid. There are many prescription drugs that are xanthine oxidase inhibitors. Allopurinol is the most popular, most common. But that again is where most of your herbal or natural remedies are going to come in, is by blocking this enzyme also, your antioxidants. The next class of drugs are the ones going to be working on kidney function, trying to get your body to excrete as much of this uric acid as possible. One way is by tweaking it a little, making it a little more soluble in the urine, and the others just plain work on the kidneys to just flush it the heck out. And that's how your doctor would treat it for you. Now, in the real life, in real life, people would call you up at the pharmacy. Eileen, the highway is closed. What do? I'm getting another flare-up. My foot is going to explode. I'm going to have to shoot it with a shotgun. What do I do? Oh my God. And I'd have to give them the advice. Well, what have you been eating? Stop eating that. What were you drinking? Stop drinking. Start drinking lots of water. What do you have at home? You can't get into town to get help. Well, start digging through your medicine cabinet. What have you got? Well, I've got some ibuprofen. Well, okay, that'll work. What else have you got? Go through the vitamin cabinet. What have you got in there? And just have them read off everything they had. And I would just scratch my brain, trying to come up with the best remedy for that particular individual. Also because we knew everyone so well that you also knew there are other medical conditions and things that might be aggravating it or causing a trigger with them too. But I'll tell you what, it was so frustrating because there was no grocery store. I couldn't tell them, go buy some black cherry juice. What is in your refrigerator? Beer. Foods do you have in your cabinet? Cheeseburgers. No, actually up there it was all elk. It was all game meat. your worst culprits. And so what could I do? My God, so I would have to try to talk them off the ledge with, again, what they had at their fingertips. And I'll tell you what, if I had had just one more trick I could have given them to get them through that night or the next day until there would be a doctor in town again, I would have given anything for that little trick if I'd have known that trick then. And I think that trick is BioTouch. Mm-hmm. Because these poor fellas, and I say fellas, forgive me, these poor folks stranded out on their ranches in so much pain, and their families are feeling so helpless. They want to do something. What can we do, Eileen, to help? If there was a way I could have got on the phone and said, all right, now sit him down. All right, take off his shirt. Okay, now take your first 2 fingers and touch him here. Now touch him there and walk them through that to just, if it could have helped even the slightest, well, I'll tell you what. The gratitude for just the little bit that we could help them with, just, an ice compress or Epsom salts or the other little remedies that we could come up with. They were so grateful for that. If BioTouch could have helped them then, oh my God. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Did you have any questions?
Why does the risk go up in women as they age? In everybody as they age. Like, what is they get it more when they get older?
Body weight.
Is that the?
Well, primarily it's going to be because increased body weight, increased incidences of hypertension and diabetes, and so all the metabolic syndrome, all those other comorbidities are make you more prone to gout.
So I have a question. So when I was hearing you speak about inflammation, I was thinking about all of these autoimmune diseases that are out there. There's so many people, thyroid conditions and fibromyalgia and all. So would that be just a little bit more burden on the body, and could that really increase the chances for gout? Because we're talking about that inflammation.
Yes. Yeah. So someone, who is in poor health, who's already in an inflammatory hell as it is. Oh yes, because just having high uric acid levels does not guarantee you're going to have gout. It's not always going to happen. Sometimes it's just the luck of the draw. Sometimes it's because you stubbed that foot. Yeah. Other times it's your health. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Perfect, thanks.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that was great.
No.
Eileen, that was amazing. I learned so much. Wow.
Right?
Yeah,
My goodness.
Oh, guess what? We left our papers
No.
over there.
No, you got them. Oh, good.
These?
Okay. I was thinking.
So these are amazing opportunities, and what you gave us was it's great to know about these diseases and the symptoms and how they get there, not because we have to remember it and not that we're going to teach people who do biotouching, but these workshops, I think, they're really showing why we do them. Because I just learned so much, and it's like, and then when you talked about biotouch, I'm like, the whole time you're talking, I'm like, well, yeah, you could do them. Oh my God, and you could do this, and then when you said they can't get anywhere, and you could talk it to them on a telephone.
Oh, that's it.
But just to know what's being affected,
I know.
it just,
Wow.
it's amazing. So we hope everybody that comes to these, we hope all of you out there who are watching it have learned something, and now we want to sort of teach how to work with it. And we have the workbook that you all, did you get a workbook? Yeah, get her a workbook so she can.
Get back on the table.
And we've done here on the workbook, the first page is a real quick synopsis of gout that Deborah Schildhouse writes and looks it up nowhere near in depth as Eileen just gave us.
Yeah.
So using the workbook with these videos that we're doing really gives you a good idea of what gout's about, how to work with it, and now we can give you the points, the sets of points to do, which, I mean, heck, what we're going to be doing here takes maybe 5 to 10 minutes to do.
So, but boy, you could have, yeah. And you made a really good point, Eileen. The families could have been doing something. I don't know if we can say that enough, because it's all that whole family and friend group that, the recipient and the practitioner, or the one that's giving biotech, they get as much out of it as the one receiving. I mean, they're all involved together to make somebody feel better, right? Yeah.
So let's open our book. And if you're out there and you're just watching, if you become a member, you can download all these workbooks that we have. And it's just a short synopsis of the entire manual with the DVD. And we'll go over a little bit about what BioTouch is and how to do it.
Yeah.
So that's on the first page here.
Yeah.
So remind us.
So remind
How
us.
simple is BioTouch?
Oh my goodness. It's so simple, I don't even have words. But it is. It's so easy to learn. I think that's the part of the uniqueness and the gift of BioTouch, is that this is made for everybody. Everybody can do BioTouch. So this is like the group called Humanity is being given this so that we can help each other with gout, with everything, families, and the people who are in pain and suffering. Everybody gets something from BioTouch. So let's just go over, just the basics of it. So we always use the first two fingers of the hand, right? We wash our hands. And then we want to lightly, as a butterfly, touch the sets of points that you will learn and hold for 6 to 8 seconds. I mean, that's it. And the moment that you have that, you're fully effective and able to step in and just begin a process of healing for somebody. I mean, it really is quite astounding, I'm thinking.
It is,
when
and
I really think
even
about
with
it.
these, there's the whole terms on here. They're not even necessary to know.
No.
So those of you who have the book out there, you don't need to know all these terms, but there's a whole process of how we teach it, even though, as you said, you could have taken them on a telephone, sat them down, take off your shirt, take the 2 fingers of one hand, and just lead people through it on a telephone. And then it could have been a child that was there working on their parents.
Yes.
Could have been grandma working. Could have been, that's the nice thing, is everybody's effective. There's no levels here. So it's vital that we get BioTouch out there to humanity. It's vital. It's in conjunction with, I think, what you were talking about, the medications. There are points where medication becomes important. But BioTouch is something that can be used in conjunction with these medications And there's even a couple of points to do to so the medication doesn't build up. Like if you're dealing with a steroid, you could work on the liver, you could work on the kidneys, you could work on the poison set, and not allow the residue to build up, but let the medication do what they're designed to do without building up and becoming a problem. So that's another way that biotouch can always be used in conjunction with standard healthcare.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of, it's so integrated. So, complementary to every other health regimen you might be on, whether you're working with a doctor, whether you're on a specific diet, or you're working with other modalities. BioTouch just really enhances everything. And as Paul was saying, it helps to, the body to work with what it's being given. And of course, we're always talking about the self-awareness that BioTouch brings us to, so that we can make choices for ourselves, more conscious choices that will change the quality of our health and make different decisions if that's what we feel that we need to do. So it's very unintrusive. It's that light touch on the skin is just kind of a wake-up call for the body to begin to communicate and to speak to the body about, there's a possibility and a hope that it can come back into a wholeness. That's where the body wants to be. It always does. So BioTouch is always present in those situations when it's being applied. It's whether we think so or not, something has happened. Something's changed at the deepest levels of our, not just consciousness, but the deepest levels, I think, of the cells in our body. And it begins to unfold like a flower, So,
even a flower in the freezing cold.
I know. Yes. Isn't there a song like "Waiting Below the Snow to Spring"? So yeah, BioTouch works with anything. It does not interfere. It just can only enhance whatever it is that you are already, whether doctor's care or just your diet. Matter. It's just a very complementary, integrative, holistic modality. I like the holistic because over time it begins to address all the parts of ourselves. And the body, like I said, it just wants to be a whole again, So BioTouch gives it that gift. And I think Paul already mentioned, everybody's effective. There's no levels. The moment that you learn, if Eileen had been the pharmacist on the other end of that phone and she would have told you how to touch those points, immediately you could have done that for your loved one, your friend, and been totally effective. It begins immediately, right? Begins immediately. So
it's totally revolutionary. I mean, I can't even, I was thinking about it this week, it's like the power of BioTouch to have in family circles in day and age is so transformative, for individuals, families. I just keep thinking of families. I keep thinking of Rose, who worked with her husband that had a stroke. Had 2 strokes, did numerous things to help him, got BioTouch through the mail, online, downloaded it. And a year later, he's on the ground doing concrete work, where he could hardly walk. He couldn't talk, couldn't raise his arm. And so, to deal with something like gout, that if you've had chronic and every year you get it, to have this, and just to take 5 or 10 minutes, probably once a week would do,
my goodness.
just to do it.
Yeah.
Or to do it right when the flare-up comes, catch it right there.
Right.
So, yeah, let's teach it.
Okay.
Okay,
we're ready.
So we're going to set up the mannequin here. Give us a little second. Okay. How does it look in that camera there? Good? All right, so we're going to teach you the greeting. Always do the greeting. You always wash your hands first. The greeting is the first thing you do, no matter what else you're going to do. If all you could learn, if all Eileen even had was the greeting, that's going to start the process. So the greeting, you use the index and the middle finger of your dominant hand, and you're going to find that breastbone, and just below the breastbone in a soft tissue area, you're going to hold right there for 6 to 8 seconds, lightly like a butterfly, with the dominant hand. Just that simple. Then you're going to take that same dominant hand. So I'm left-handed, that's why I've got my left hand. And you're going to look for the big bone at the base of the neck. If you lean your head forward, that bone pops out. And you're going to go to the left of that bone about 1 inch to 1.5 inches with that same dominant hand. So 6 to 8 seconds just below the breastbone, 6 to 8 seconds to the left of the big bone. Now you've done the greeting. That's the key to the system. Okay? So let's go to the next set of points.
The next set that you want to use is called the metabolism set, and this is going to help the body to get rid of, as Eileen was saying, get rid of what it doesn't want to have. You know, it's awesome. You know, extra fluids and all that, uric acid, whatever it is. So this is a 2-step set. In the first step, we're going to be working along that large muscle on the front of the neck. And we're going to be using what we call matching fire. So we're going to be touching 2 points simultaneously. So we're going to begin points 1 and 1 are in those soft tissues, indentations, above the collarbone on both sides of that notch in the center of the breastbone, and we're going to be holding 6 to 8 seconds. Points 1 and 1. Points 2 and 2 are halfway up the neck in front of that large muscle. We want to be touching very lightly. This is a very sensitive area along the throat. And then points 3 and 3 are at the top of the neck. Again, you're at the on either side of that large muscle. And you can always repeat these points. So you can do it again if you feel that that's what you want to do. You can always repeat points. Once you've done that, that's the first step. Then we're going to be holding what we call a hold point, which means one hand's going to be holding on the skin the whole time that we're doing the other points on the back of the body. So we're going to be holding. Find our hold point by imagining a line that runs along directly where the nipples would be on a youth. And we want to be on that line about 1 to 1.5 inches from that breastbone. The other way you can find it is that greeting point 1, just below the breastbone. You want to go up the breastbone about 1/3 of the way and then over 1 to 1.5 inches. And then you're going to rest your fingers there. And we're going to be working through the body. So we're going to be working around a point that we call the breakover point, where the natural point where the spine meets the, what do you call that? The ribs. Wow, the ribs, right? The bottom of the ribs meets the spine. So we're going to be working around that point, straight through the body from greeting point 1. So we're going to be working below the shoulder blades and above the hips. So point 1, remember we're holding on the front. Point 1 is going to be 1 to 2 inches above that breakover point on that left spine muscle. And we're going to just rest that 6 to 8 seconds. Point 2 is directly across from point 1. Remember, we're staying below the shoulder blades. And point 3 is 2 to 3 inches below the breakover point on that right spine muscle. And we're staying above the hips. Now, again, you can repeat these points as many times as you feel you want to. And that's...
Yeah, it was interesting on this one, point, because Eileen talked about blood sugar.
She did, didn't she?
Being
So let's I'm going to add, so this set is for metabolism and for blood sugar. So there is point 4, which is directly across from point 3 of the metabolism set. It's on the left spine muscle directly across, and you can hold that again. You can repeat those 4, or you can lift and touch again, point 4. So yes, you can add point 4 to that one. That's a good point. Yeah, pardon. Yeah. So that's the metabolism set. Very, very effective. Stress set. The next set that you want to use is extremely easy. This is for stress and anxiety. So very easy. Find the whole point. Again, that's the point you're going to be resting your fingers at. It's going to have constant contact with the skin. And that is at greeting point 1, which is that soft tissue just below the breastbone. You're going to be holding at that point, and we're going to imagine a diagonal line that begins right at that notch at the top of the breastbone and extends down to a point on the left breast where the nipple on a youth would be. And we're going to divide that line into thirds. So point number 1 is at the top of that first third, point 1. Again, holding lightly 6 to 8 seconds. And point 2 is at the top of the second third, holding 6 to 8 seconds. And you can repeat those points as many times as you want to. That's very effective for stress and anxiety because your body will be definitely all locked up and anxious. So want to use that. The last one that we want to use is, Eileen was talking about that toe and the fingers and all the extremities. You can address those extremities by doing what we call extra work, local work. So basically you're going to be, let's talk about the toe. So if we're going to be working on the toe, we want to hold somewhere along in this sacrum area, on the spine area, and we want to make contact with the area that we're really going to be talking. Am I okay? Okay. So we might want to just go down and touch the toe area, and then we can actually do work around that foot, that toe, whatever. We can do the same thing with knees, elbows. You can do work, what we call sweeps across an affected area or work around an affected area. If it's really painful, they don't want it to be touched, we can do
show the area in the back.
Touch across, right. So if you're working on the upper extremities, we want to be working with the source of those nerves, which is around that big bone that Paul was talking about in the greeting set. And then you can say it's an elbow area. You can hold that for 6 to 8 seconds, and then you can actually go, maybe follow those nerves if you want to, and work around that affected area. You can do that anywhere in the body that they are having a flare-up or pain or inflammation, anything like that. So not only can you do those sets of points that we recommend, but you can do extra work, local work right on the problem, right on where the pain is, localized. So That's it. You've got it. You can help somebody with gout just by doing those 4 things. It's amazing.